Presence, the podcast for everyone interested in bodywork, embodiment, and somatic practices. I'm Andrew Rosenstock, your host and guide on this enlightening journey. With my expertise as a somatic movement therapist, yoga therapist, and certified Rolfer, I'll merge clinical insight with real-world experience to enrich our discussions with our guests. Through engaging and informative talks, this podcast delves into mind-body paradigms, offering insights and strategies to empower personal growth. Your support is vital for our grassroots and lo-fi production. If you connect with our content, please leave a positive review and subscribe on your preferred platform. Your engagement helps us reach a broader audience and supports our mission. So thanks for tuning in today to Touching into Presence. Fasten your seatbelt as we embark on a journey to explore the transformative power of contemplative and somatic practices together.
Today's conversation is with Brooke Thomas. Brooke graduated from the Rolf Institute of Structural Integration in Boulder, Colorado in 2000 and has been practicing Rolfing since that time. Her current practice is Emerald City Rolfing in Seattle, Washington. Since 2009, she has been teaching small business skills to self-employed healing arts providers, and she is the co-founder of the calendar app Fully Booked. Fully Booked was created out of the desire for a simple scheduling and waitlist notification system for tiny wellness businesses. Her past projects include the Liberated Body podcast, a website and podcast that advocates for the manual and movement therapy fields, and the Liberated Being Studio, an online somatic meditation studio that help people engage with embodiment in the real world. In today's conversation, Brooke and I explored practice building, social media, and the increasingly common relationship between content creation and building a successful practice. Together we examine some of the assumptions many practitioners carry about marketing, visibility, and what it actually takes to grow a sustainable healing practice. From there, the conversation expanded into the nature of relationship itself. We talked about the difference between building an audience and building trust, the role of community, referrals, and authentic connection, and why the principles that help a practice grow may be the very same principles that make therapeutic work effective. Brooke also reflected on rebuilding her own practice after moving across the country, offering practical insights into networking, collaboration, and creating a practice rooted in genuine human connection rather than constant self-promotion. Throughout the conversation, we returned to embodiment, both in the treatment room and in the ways we communicate with one another. We explored how social media can subtly shape not only what we share, but how we think, relate, and present ourselves, and how easy it is for lived experience to become another concept or performance. Rather than arriving at simple conclusions, the conversation became an invitation to think more deeply about authenticity, relationship, and how we can use the tools available to us without allowing those tools to determine how we practice or who we become.
I am excited to be back in conversation with Brooke Thomas, who, and for those who do remember the previous conversation years ago, was an inspiration for me. One of the reasons I did start the podcast is not because you stopped, but because of a lack of voices that I actually respected in the field, and sort of thought, well, hey, maybe I can do it. And I wouldn't say I do it nearly as well as you do it, but I do it, and I'm glad to be here. And I am was sparked by an article you wrote for the Rolf Journal that talked about practice building and social media. And generally what I hear, I'm usually like, no, I don't agree with. And I was like, yes, preach on, lady. So I wanted partly to give a platform to preach, but also to share, because not everybody who reads this are Rolfers. And I think it's more than just about Rolfing. I think it's a wider for body work and embodiment. And so I wanted to give space to share.
Well, thank you. I'm really glad to be here. Glad to reconnect with you.
So I don't necessarily want to read every word, but would you be all right to maybe like sort of either summarize the article or maybe like what led you to write it?
Sure. Yeah. So the article, like the nutshell version, is basically like everyone's going to tell you that you need to be on social media in order to be a successful, in this case, Rolfer, right? Because it was for the Rolf Journal. But I would say really any healing arts provider who is the focus of their business is treating patients, clients, providing their work to people. And you don't need to do that. You really, really, really don't. And then going through, why do people say you need to be on it? And why do I think you don't need to be on it? And the impetus for that. So I have I've been a Rolfing practitioner for 25 years now. And that's been all of those 25 years, except for 14 months during the pandemic. It has been how I have earned my living, raised my kid on my own. It's what pays my bills. I don't have secret family money. It's that puts food on the table.
Mhm.
And yet I have also straddled these other worlds. Like you mentioned, I have the podcast, I had Liberated Body, I have a podcast. I'm not running it anymore, but Simple Prospering. I did one with my
Mm.
friend Vanessa, Bliss and Grit, that was really much more personal.
Mhm.
And so I talked with a lot of practitioners in Simple Prospering, and this was a part of that gap during the pandemic. I was helping people with their branding, website design. My background pre-Rolfing is in design,
Mm.
and practice building. And so I was talking even more intimately with a lot of practitioners and talking about their business. And every single person was, I know I have to do social media, but I don't want to. And my response was always like, you do not have to do social media. So I was having that conversation in private a lot. And the editor of the journal approached me about like, could we share this
Mm.
with more people? Because everyone's saying the same thing around here, which
Mm.
is like, well, I guess we need to teach people to grow their businesses by being on social media.
Shout out to Lena. I'm guessing you're talking about Lena as
Yeah,
the
yeah.
editor.
Mhm.
She is so, yeah, she has such a good ear to the ground, and I feel like she sees and gets ahead of stuff and really wants to put it out there. So shout out
Yeah,
to
she's
her.
really a great,
Yeah,
dedicated editor. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. She's made all of my articles better because I'm
Yes,
not,
mine too.
yeah, I'm not the best writer. And so, yeah, shout out to Lena for doing that because A, we wouldn't be here today, but also, yeah, I think I'm hoping people read that article and it did spark it because I don't know, you graduated 25 years ago or maybe even longer. I graduated 7 years ago.
Mm.
Practice building was a part of it, but I know that they've been doing more practice building in the institute and in almost every training I've done. So besides rolfing, I have a lot of other body work and modalities, yoga therapy, different things. And many of them practice building becomes a part of it, but
Mhm.
I don't think I ever really connected with any of the practice building stuff we're taught. And I think all of it's helpful, but I do think there's something very different about, I think you have to kind of be in the field and figure out your market, your niche, all that sort of stuff, which I don't think they can really teach.
Yeah, I mean, I'm of many minds about it. I'm always glad when people pay attention to educating us, like you're going to be a small business owner,
Hmm.
right? The jobs for Rolfers are very
Hmm.
few and far between. Like I could see that there might be some places I could apply, like physical therapy practices here in Seattle or something like that. But for the most part, you're going to be self-employed.
Hmm.
And being a small business owner is its own whole skill set.
Hmm.
And it has never been theoretical for me. Like I said, it's what puts food on the table. It's what allowed me to raise my kid on my own. Um, I had to make money doing it.
Yeah.
It couldn't be a fun hobby, or I would have had to get another job to actually pay
Mhm.
the bills. So I'm always glad when that's being paid attention to. It's just that, oh my God, like our world is so crazy right now because with social media and the internet in general, it's like everything has become, and just like, let's say, being in a capitalist culture
Hmm.
with these tech tools, everything has become marketing.
Hmm.
And so which is really weird, right? Marketing used to just be for like advertising companies trying to sell cereal, but now it's a part of the air we breathe, is that
Hmm.
everyone knows what marketing is. And most people are engaged in some form of it, whether it's like a personal brand that they're growing on social
Hmm.
media, or in our case, like they are a small business owner and they need to earn a living. So there's
Hmm.
just a lot of advice
Mhm.
which is mostly advice based around what's good for the tech companies.
Mhm.
Tech companies need content creators to
Mhm.
be posting on their platforms, or else those platforms don't exist. So a lot of the advice is bad. It's just to
Mhm.
entice people to post.
Yes.
And it's like there are reasons to post. And so I'll get this right out front because a lot of
Mhm.
times people are like, well, people do grow businesses on social media. That is absolutely true.
Mhm.
There are a few businesses that grow on social media. The first one and the one we hear about the most and the one that gets confused with our kinds of practices the most
Mhm.
is the influencer, the
Mhm.
creator, right?
Mhm.
And in our cases, that would be the wellness influencer. So the advice is basically make yourself a wellness influencer.
Mhm.
Um, that is not going to grow a private practice. What it will do, if you're really, if you're good at it and dedicated and you're posting and you're learning like how to use the tools and be visible, is it will grow an influencer business, which is a completely different business model than a service providing health and wellness business. A influencer business is a celebrity business model. So you're
Mhm.
trying to get as much attention as possible, as many followers, shares, likes,
Mhm.
so that you can trade that attention for income. If we're,
Mhm.
and in my mind, if we're talking about a business, we're talking about income, not
Mhm.
something fun to do. It's something that is paying your bills, right?
It can be both, but if it doesn't have the income, it falls apart. It can be fun to
Yeah.
do, but it's
Projects, I mean, I've done a million. I'm the queen of unpaid projects, which is why I differentiate. It's like
yeah.
there's what allowed me to raise my son, and then
Mhm.
there's like projects.
Yes.
So to grow an influencer business is its own whole thing. You're trading that attention for income in a different way, whether it's that the platform itself pays you, like on TikTok or YouTube, or that sponsors pay you, right? So, like,
Mhm.
let's say I become a um, gardening influencer,
Mhm.
and gardening was a bad pick, right? And
That's a great
Home
one.
Depot
Yeah.
pays is like, wow, okay, like let's try and rebrand Home Depot garden department. Let's pick her to or pay her
Mhm.
to post about
Mhm.
how Home Depot is actually like got all these
Yeah.
amazing native plants or whatever. Um, so that's about celebrity. It's about
Mhm.
attention. Being a wellness provider, a service provider in the health field, it's about care. And to get people to come and see you to receive care requires intimacy and trust.
Mhm.
People can argue and they will, like, yeah, but um, if people find you, like, let's say I have a Instagram channel where I'm
Mhm.
being a very charismatic Rolfer, and I'm talking
Mhm.
about fascia, and I'm talking about posture, I'm talking about
Mhm.
movement re-education. Um, some of those people might come to see me. Um, but they're coming to see me for celebrity. They're coming to see me for charisma.
Mhm.
I personally don't want that kind of practice.
Well, I think they're also this ties into it. I think they're partly also coming because there's a presumption of into maybe not into knowledge. So and it ties into, but there's a sense that well, this person has seems very knowledgeable, and
Right.
but I agree with you.
Yeah, and this is sort of where the algorithm corrupts everything,
Mm.
So in theory, and back in the early days of, like, let's just pick one, back in the early days of how old do I want to be? Let's say Facebook, right? Which is
Mhm.
sort of the dinosaur of
At least
these
at least you
days.
didn't go with Friendster or MySpace.
Yeah, no, nothing. Facebook still exists.
Yeah.
Like, so I had Liberated Body podcast. I had a Facebook group for Liberated Body podcast. And it was really rich
Mhm.
educational space to be because it attracted all of these other deep body nerds. It was really cool. And I think by the time I closed it, there were like 8 or 9,000
Oh.
people. Like, really cool. But the algorithm doesn't reward knowledge anymore.
Mhm. Yeah.
It rewards what keeps people's attention glued, which
Mhm.
is Charisma, which usually involves wonder and awe, giving people like, oh my
Yeah.
God, wow, or like, I never even thought of that before, which you can do like
Mhm.
with fascia and stuff. Or um, outrage, fear,
Mhm.
hate,
Mhm.
paranoia, conspiracy, right? So the algorithm does shape us and it shapes what we're building on the platforms.
Mhm. Yeah, although I would say that I agree with you. I'd say the algorithm can shape what we're building because, for example, I don't pay attention to the algorithm, which is why I don't have many people who follow, but
Mhm.
any of my whatever. But I still don't let it shape me. I would say I don't let it shape me. Maybe it is in
Yeah.
ways I'm not, but yeah, to be what you're talking about. We're looking for, and in the way I heard both of the positive and negative, that like the awe and whatnot, it's a shock. It's how do we shocking will get people in, and then it keeps them in, and that's how I mean, without being conspiracy, it's not. That's how the companies make money. They need so,
Yeah.
generally speaking, shocking, exciting is what keeps people glued. And so that is what sells. And I mean, our conversation I find really exciting, but is it gonna like bring in thousands of people? No. But I think
Right.
to me, this is sort of gets into the heart of what while I think what you and I would consider Rolfing an embodiment to be is actually incredibly shocking to be in your body for
Hmm.
is whatever you can't market that because that wouldn't be it. It would be the marketing of it, and it's not.
Right.
Yeah, and it's not like it is exciting, but it's not exciting to watch, and it's not like so. There's
Well,
nothing
it's
about it. It's
experiential, right?
experiential.
Like
Thank
it
you, thank
has
you.
to be a person
Yes,
experiencing it.
yes, yes.
And so you can talk about experiencing it. You can get really as thinky as you want, which I did in Liberated Body. And at a certain point, I was like, this is just becoming theoretical thinkiness, right?
Mhm.
About embodiment. You can do that, but it's actually just not what embodiment is. It's not the
Sure.
experience of having that. Yeah.
Yeah, most of my so I've been writing more in Substack, and almost all of my writings will say at the end something like, "And this is all great, but nothing I'm saying is like exactly what it is. Like this is all
Right.
still conceptual, and that there's I have a story that I don't know if I shared here before, but I had a client who was a big marketer, and they kept saying you need better social media and you need to market, and I said I don't think you can really market this, and she said,
Yeah.
"Of course you can." And after the second session, she's like, "Yeah, you're right. I don't think you can market it." And I was like, "Yeah." And I have no interest. I mean, I do. The insecure part of me that wants more people to come says, "Please, please come find me via this," which is one of the things I do like about social media is that I can look back at my post and say, "Oh man, that was just that was a desperate. I mean, not always, but that was a desperate cling for like I didn't have clients that day and I needed people to come in and I was trying to
Mhm.
get." At least that's me in my process.
Yeah, and like one of the things, so I would say we absolutely can market what we
Hmm.
do, but has nothing to do with all of that kind of chatter that's based around tech tools,
Hmm.
which is just a part of that air we breathe these days. It's so old school. Like the way that we like to replace the word market, the way that we let people know that we exist and what we do in a way where they would come in and become a client, at least try it out,
Hmm.
is through relationships.
Yes.
And that is a process as old as time is that you connect in the real world with your
Mhm.
community. And I'm going to like put a pin in there are ways to use social media to do that. Most of them not so much, but I'll circle back to that. But
Mhm.
um at the time that we're talking, I actually started my practice from scratch again
Mhm.
in Seattle, Washington. So
Right.
my practice before that was in New Haven, Connecticut for 15 years, I think 15 years. So that's like a long run to be giving people advice about practice building when your practice is like in that super established word of mouth.
Mhm.
You don't need to do any marketing. So it's been actually great for me internally to be like, okay, this is not now here I am in 2026 having to grow a practice from scratch again. Like, can I live by what I'm saying? Also, is it true?
Mhm. Or is it still true? Yeah.
Is it still true?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I haven't started social media channels for my practice. So I haven't even attempted that route.
Mhm.
One thing I did do besides all of my relationship building, which I can talk about in more detail, is I did hire an SEO person
Mhm.
who actually I knew her as a Rolfing client back in New
Mhm.
Haven. So she was somebody I knew in the real world and liked and trusted. She wasn't somebody who was selling me on a big flashy package.
Mhm.
And so it was interesting because I could do my practice building through relationships, and she could be doing the SEO stuff, which was like basically making the algorithm find me more easily, that I show up on
Yeah.
Google Maps, that
Mhm.
when someone types in Seattle Rolfing, I pop up.
Yeah.
Um, and then I could keep track of where people were coming from. And I ended working with her because I was like, I mean, I'm paying you money that I don't want to part with.
Mhm.
My clients are all coming in through the relationship building because I was
Right.
keeping track. Not all, but like 85, 90%
Right.
were like, oh, your friend and colleague, so and so, somebody who I had just started taking Qigong class with, right,
Mhm.
referred me to you.
Totally. Yeah.
Great, because I let my Qigong teacher know I'm a Rolfer, I'm new in town, and like all that stuff is what was bringing me clients.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah. I didn't fully realize when I became a rolfer what it meant to be a small business owner because I had
none of
been,
us do.
well, I had been a small business owner before, but because I was a nomad, I had developed this really interesting way of doing it, and I had developed all these connections, and I didn't really need SEO because I had channels that just fed stuff into me,
Mm,
which got very lucky. So like even when I hear you speaking about SEO, like something I did which is helpful was, you can pay someone and it's probably better, but there are a lot of apps that actually you can plug into your website that take a little
yeah.
time. And this has been an annoying thing for me is I just switched my phone over to a VoIP thing that can actually because I found that now I'm busy enough, I'm pretty much full, 2 weeks in advance. The thing that kills me is admin. Like responding to
Mhm.
clients takes so much time. So I've like found ways of having some apps that actually kind of automate it, which is great in some way and not great in other ways. It does lose a bit of that relationship, of that personalness. And so still trying to figure that out. But I hear,
Yeah, I'm all for like apps for productivity and stuff, which is different than growing your business, like marketing through it.
right, it's very different than marketing. It's
Yeah.
more for the back end stuff. I mean, I think you can do the SEO, you can kind of do some of that for the marketing and the
Hmm.
background through apps, but a lot of the other stuff is like I didn't think about any of that for building my practice. Is not just there is the marketing and how do we get people in, but then there's also, oh, I need to, like, how do I follow up with people? How do I do all
Yeah.
this sort of stuff? How do I um which is again, I don't, it's just been fun and challenging to learn about what does that mean to be a small business owner.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. The SEO actually just made me think because I work one day a week with a naturopath, and she was asking like why. She was saying maybe I need to use your SEO stuff because I'm pretty busy right now. And what I was trying to tell her is I don't think I'm actually busy because of SEO. I think that helps. I think I'm busy because I get referrals from people who say nothing else helped and that helped.
Right.
And it's the relationship. It is a bit, I mean, right now I don't know if you're in the same in Seattle and Boston. Somatic is very popular, and
Mm,
because I'm also a somatic movement therapist through the Rolf movement training, people come in, so people do Google somatic and they come in
yeah.
having no idea what the word means, or like my therapist said I need this, which is still somewhat of a relationship based. They're coming off of
Yeah,
yeah, but
for sure.
yeah, I'm fully that the every rolfer is taught different. One of the things I was taught during my training by Ray McCall is that in principality, rolfing is about relationships.
Yeah.
So hearing you also say that, it just to me ties it in more.
Yeah. I mean, and I would say the thing, like, if we're going to get into what does actually work
Mhm.
to grow a practice that you need to grow, you need it to grow.
Mhm.
Um, the thing I think that's most valuable that everyone can do, besides having like a, a good website, right,
Mhm.
is Google reviews,
Yes.
which is relationships again. Ask your clients
Mhm.
who have left your office saying like, "Oh my God, I'm so glad I found you."
Mhm.
Right. Write to them and say like, "Thank you so much for saying that. I'm growing my practice. Would
Mhm.
you mind leaving a Google review?" And that is one of those things that is in the crossover lands between tech and relationship, but it's still
Mhm.
relationship, right? It's not that I tried Google Ads too. Nothing.
Yeah.
Not nothing, but kind of nothing.
I spend, yeah, I mean, I honestly have no idea. I spend maybe $50 a month on it. So my thought
Yeah.
is, I think I set the price higher, but maybe something isn't working. That was another part of like, have small business where I was like, my brain doesn't quite work in that way.
Yeah,
Uh,
it takes a lot of testing,
yes.
and I am not a test A/B split test
Yeah. None of
this
that stuff.
word, but then I
Yeah.
tweaked it out word, and my brain's never going to work that way. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Same.
one of the things I said in that article is like if we need our practice to grow,
Mhm.
it's easy to push publish on a
Mhm.
post. It feels safe,
Mhm.
right? It can even be fun, right? Like you can make it pretty and pick out the words and
Mhm.
whatever, and just push publish, and it's like, I did
Mhm.
something. It's much harder for me to email cold
Mhm.
the chiropractic space that I've walked past a million times on my way to lunch and be like,
Mhm.
"Hi, I'm your new neighbor. I'm a Rolfer. Can I take you out for coffee?" And then take them out to coffee and just see,
Yeah.
like, do we click
Yeah.
or not? Is there chemistry? If there's chemistry, it'll turn into probably mutually supportive referrals over the years. If not,
Totally.
we had coffee. It's much more vulnerable.
That's funny. For me, it doesn't like, maybe it's just how I am. When I was younger, like in high school, I would go to concerts by myself. And when I
Uh-huh.
would do that, I would just have like meals by myself because I was into music that none of my friends were. So for me, like when I first got here, I had no issue. I just go into not stores, but like chiropractors, yoga centers, at Pilates people and be like,
Yeah.
"Hey, I'm new here. I'd love to learn more about you."
Yeah.
And so it's funny that I hear that for whatever for me that isn't vulnerable, but I think
Yeah.
regardless if it's vulnerable or not, that is so
It's
important.
effective.
It's so
Yeah.
effective. I mean,
It's
I don't.
effective whether you like doing it or not.
Yeah,
It's the
yeah.
thing that helps.
I don't think I get so many referrals from them, but my thought
Mhm.
is like, even if you get one, that's already
Yeah.
something. And that person very well may, it's an odds game. But I also, when I was younger and I lived in New York, I had a shift from being very heavy to less heavy. And so I didn't have a lot of self-confidence. And I was trying to meet members of the sex that I wanted to date it.
Mhm.
Try to make it more PC to not say. And I just remember figuring out if I just went up and I asked 99 people out or for a drink and one said yes, I was one step better than I started. And
Yeah.
so just kind of like taking that of saying, how do you make that step forward, which for a lot of people can be vulnerable, but is just figuring out ways to make that work.
Yeah. I'm a super shaky Chihuahua introvert,
Mhm.
typically, even though, I mean, this is a comfort zone, right? We're talking one on one via screens. So
Yeah.
if I seem really comfortable in my skin, it's because this is a different environment.
Mhm.
But so I find it really vulnerable, but it is so useful, like you were
Mhm.
saying, to just do something. And if it sounds exhausting to people who are like me, right? Who
Mhm.
it's like, oh my God, the thought of reaching out. I try to reach out to somebody every single day. And
Mhm.
sometimes it's a cold, they have no
Totally.
idea who I am. Sometimes it's a colleague who I have a friendship with,
Mhm.
but they sent me a client and I just am saying, thank you so much for thinking of me. But every day I try to reach out, not on the weekends, because I take weekends totally off.
Yeah, but that's great. So I hear you taking instead of doing like I'm gonna do 10, it's like slowly titration.
Yeah, just every day, one person, and that's a real connection, right?
Mhm.
Instead of just sending out a blanket
Mhm.
message to a ton of people.
Mhm.
And then what I have to keep reminding myself as the shaky Chihuahua introvert type is like, this is so much more enjoyable to me than staring at my phone
Mhm.
because, yeah, sometimes I have a coffee with someone and we just don't click
Mhm.
and no referrals come out of it, right? That's
Mhm.
worst case scenario. But I had a coffee. I walked into a nice
Mhm.
neighborhood. And more often than not, I'm meeting really cool people doing
Yeah.
interesting work, like the
Mhm.
dancer who's the Pilates teacher who studied Melt in New York, who's
Mhm.
back here and is like integrating all this cool stuff. And the Qigong teacher who's been practicing for 40 years. And like,
Yeah, but you're in Seattle, of
I'm in
course.
Seattle.
No, I'm in
It's true.
I'm
But
in
there's
Boston.
always like
Oh,
PTs, chiropractors, acupuncturists, massage therapists, yoga teachers, and so it's not going to be we'll be colleagues now hit with
no.
everyone, but you're going to be actually getting to know your
Totally.
community. Yeah.
So I had a great thing where I reached out to a chiropractor because I work one day a week in downtown Boston, and somehow I'd seen something about them and similar. Hey, I just want to connect, and we become him and his wife are both chiropractors,
Hmm.
trainer chiropractors. Not they always say we're not traditional. They're very into sports science. They're not into cracking, and
Yeah.
we've hit it off so well. And they actually organize like a every 3 months they have a get together, and there's 10 to 20 people from numerous different fields that come in and talk about whatever.
That's so cool.
It's
Yeah.
so cool. And it's like, wow, had I never reached out to them, I would not have been included. Their office is right across the street from me, but I would not have known.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm already, there's going to be an event next month. And there's another Rolfer who I know who's in Boston who I've reconnected or have connected with. I want to bring him in too, because I'm like, hey, like let's get you also part. Let's build the community. I know a lot of Rolfers are like, we're mavericks, but I'm a big part of like, we support each other. I practice in a different way. And I tell people, if I'm not your approach, I got three people who
For
are.
sure.
And I know that they sometimes will refer people. There's one Rolfer I know who always sends people for quote unquote nervous system work to work with me because he doesn't work that way. He's very heavy-handed. So,
Yep.
so, I sort of laugh because I think it's all Rolfing, but it's just how do you build that becomes a big, for at least for me, a big part of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. There was something you said though. I'm not going to push back. I want to expand
Oh
on, which
yeah.
is
I
which is
mean,
the
please push back too. Like,
no.
no.
It's not about pushing back. It's for me. I generally want to make things bigger. I think things it's easy to say something, but then it's more complicated and not. Which is the something about the Google reviews because I do have a colleague who after
Mhm.
every session says to people, I've heard this because I've seen clients who see him or her. They say like, oh, because the person's and especially after the first session, they're so they weren't, he's very heavy-handed. They're so disconnected, and he basically says, leave a review. And so they have a lot of really good reviews, but I don't actually think like from a practice building, it's great. From an authenticity point, I don't find it great. I have one
Yeah.
client who wants to take the review down, but scared of what that person's going to think. She actually realizes how much she's been manipulated by him, which I know Rolfers can do that. Practitioners get out of here. And so I hear you on the Google reviews, and I think that there is a fine line of for me, everything kind of comes down to this buzzword of authenticity of having them do it because they want to. And
Totally.
and I actually like what you said. It's not directly after the session. You email them later so that they do have time. I think that's really key
Yes.
to hit.
If relationship is primary, which it should be in
Hmm.
our fields, then
Yeah.
you have to approach everything as if the trust that this person has put in you to
Hmm.
be their practitioner. And I don't mean trust like they'll do whatever I say. I just mean like this person is willing to let me touch them. That's a
Hmm.
lot of trust.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, that if that's primary, you have to think through how you would ask. So
Mm.
I considered when I was practice building here new in Seattle, like, oh, maybe I'll set up a autoresponder after someone comes for a session that says like, hey, thanks for your session. Hope you enjoyed your session. If you enjoyed your session, please leave a Google review, da, 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 right? And
Mhm.
I decided not to do that because it didn't feel like it was honoring the relationship.
Yeah.
It felt pushy, it felt fake,
Yes.
it felt
Yes.
like a blanket thing that everyone gets. And so instead, I listened for somebody genuinely thanking me for
Hmm.
something.
Yes.
I let them have their session. The session's completely separate,
Hmm.
should not be a part of my practice building. It's their time.
Yes.
And then I will email them later and say, hey, when you said that, it made me realize I should probably ask you for a Google review. I'm trying to grow my practice. And of course, no pressure, right?
Mhm.
That's the other important thing to say is
Yeah,
like,
although
it's
yeah,
hard for people to receive that, but I'll say, honestly, I understand life is busy. You can't get to it. It falls off your radar. No worries. It's not going to affect our relationship, but
yeah, I'm with you. And I always struggle when I write no pressure because I think it doesn't make a difference if I'm saying no pressure. They may
yeah,
still take it, but I mean, I'm with you. I haven't found how to convey like, because also it's such a, hey, Brooke, can we have a call? No pressure. It's like, so, but I'm with you.
yeah,
I'm with you. And that's a
yeah,
challenge. We can give no pressure, but they still might take pressure. So all we can do is do our best to
sure.
kind of be like, really, I have a client who for months has said, I want to leave a Google review. I just don't know what to say. And I'm
Yeah,
like, you don't have to say anything. First of all, you don't have to leave a review, or
right.
you can just, you don't have to. But yeah, that's all part of it. I do also, I want to circle back. There's something I think that ties into that for relationship that, yes, I think the way that you and I practice or approach the work is I'm going to say maybe the word mutual relationship because the
Yeah.
person I'm talking about still has the manipulating way is a relationship, but it's a relationship of hierarchy. And
Yes.
it's still and so what we're kind of getting at is that relationship is in fact something I say to my clients often, and it might not be the best wording is I say, I'm not very interested in you giving me your trust. I'm interested in earning your trust. And so I would actually rather you don't trust me.
Yeah.
Take your time and then let's do it. Because if you just come here and you give me your trust, like, first of all, where are you? You've just left the
Right.
building. And so trying to get that mutual, yeah, Boston and Seattle are different.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
no, but
yes.
you're absolutely right. I mean, and that's in how you do everything as a practitioner to convey this eye level relationship.
Mhm.
And certainly we play different roles, right? Because I'm the one that trained in Rolfing, but
Yes,
in many ways, I'm following.
completely.
It's
Yeah.
like it's not even an eye level, right? Because
Mhm.
I'm following their lead. Yeah.
Yeah, I sort of say we're both going to be leading and following in different ways. And so
Hmm.
you're going to show me something and I'm going to kind of move with that, which is then going to show you something. And then that's going to, and so we're in this kind of, and for me, I sometimes be cliche and like we're in this dance.
Yeah.
And ideally we're trying to figure out what is actually keeping you from moving more forward or moving more free or what is that
Mhm.
and ultimately nobody knows more than yourself. The problem is, hey, there's dirt that's covered it so we can't quite see, and so we're trying to kind of figure out where and how is the dirt, but it like very much so I see it as a co dance.
Yeah.
It didn't even occur to me till this conversation. I've had two people in the last year say, "Do you know any good Rolfers in Seattle?" And
Oh.
I actually now can say yes because because
Yeah.
I don't refer Rolfers who I don't know anything about.
Oh, sure. Right.
Or I might say, hey, these people, but I don't know anything because we all practice so different and because I find some practices maybe not as helpful.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's people I know there, but it never occurred to me. But now practice building, I can actually say,
Yeah.
oh yeah, Brooke Thomas is
Send it on
great.
down. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, I'm serious. This is like, and that's also, again, this in a way it ties into, well, you didn't call a chiropractor in your neighborhood, but we're having this call
Right.
and there you go.
Yeah. Right.
Cool.
It's regular having of relationships, which
Hmm.
is different than what comes to mind when we think about networking, and definitely to mind when we think about quote growing an audience or growing a following, which is not what we need for our work.
No. When I first moved here, I was working at a massage place. They let me do whatever I want, but it gave me a place to work and it was in the town next to me and the owner was great. And then she said one day, she said, there's a Chamber of Commerce networking thing. Do you want to go? And I was like, maybe. It was the worst. It was for me,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was so bad.
Yeah.
It was so
I'm a
obvious.
roofer. Oh,
Oh,
you're a roofer?
oh, not even that.
Still the same.
Not even that. Everyone, most people there were there for one purpose, and that was to sell. And it was
Yeah.
obvious they weren't interested in very much in listening. It was
Right.
all in what, and I listened to everybody because for me, a relationship is important. But no, there was no space for information to come in because everyone there was just how can I get my product into people's hands?
Right. And that's
And
a part of that cultural thing of like we're all breathing in this air of marketing all the time. And so it's
yes.
like you're going to have so many more encounters where people believe they have to be in this role of used car salesman
Hmm.
or influencer,
Hmm.
like cultivating their personal brand when they're
Hmm.
talking to you and it's like just be a person. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. The one highlight of that night is there was someone from high school, someone I knew from high school who was there, and
Oh,
I was like,
nice.
"Oh, I haven't seen you in 20 odd years. This is
Uh-huh.
great." I appreciate, I don't think we think the same, but I think we think similar. And not that thinking similar is that's the surest way to never grow for sure. But
Sure.
but I'm happy to be in these conversations because there is someone in the Rolfing community who has been pushing TikTok and social media, and that's fine for them. But I I just remember even seeing what I remember seeing a video and thinking this is one of the most disembodied things I've ever seen. It's pure
Yeah.
acting. This
Right.
is and again that's fine, but that is not that's not embodiment. Okay, sure, it's embodiment in terms of we're acting embodiment, but not to the core of what you and I are getting
Right.
at of what beingness is in the somatic term. And
Yeah.
so
If you want to be an influencer, you have to do that. That's the business, right?
mhm.
Like there's no other place to be if you want to be I mean on if you want to
No,
be
no,
an
with you.
influencer,
No, I'm
which
with
is a
you.
celebrity business.
I'm laughing because I created this series on YouTube that was all about how not to do that, how
Uh-huh.
to, and it completely failed, and it completely failed. But it was good for me. It was all about trying to figure out how do you not, can you be authentic? And you can, I mean, Gil Headley to me is that.
Right.
I don't think he's really, okay, he plays a little bit of snippets here and there, but he doesn't really go down that. And for whatever reason, he has been he is an influencer, but he's not an influencer, if that makes
Right.
sense.
And he also, like people who are getting on the platforms early days
Yeah.
versus people who are getting on the platforms now, they have
Yes.
changed a lot. And the
Yes.
way the algorithm shapes you have changed a lot. Gil Headley's also naturally
Hmm.
charismatic
Yes. Yes.
and a gifted educator.
Hmm.
But I think also like I mean, when I trained before social media existed by
Yeah.
a long many years, I knew who Gil Headley was because he's
Yeah.
an amazing educator, right? So
Yes.
he
Yes.
already had that
Yes.
happening. Uh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I was completely with you. I don't want to be an actor. I want to be real. But at the
yeah,
same point, I'm speaking to a camera. It's completely inauthentic. I put a
yeah,
teddy bear at one point so that I could pretend, and it was like, and I eventually stopped doing the project because I
yeah.
still believe it's possible. I think there is a way to do it. I just haven't figured it out.
Yeah. I mean, and I play with all this stuff all the time too. And I test my assumptions all the time, like I was saying, with
Mhm.
my new practice. Tried Google Ads, tried hiring an SEO person. Like, let's see. I didn't start social media channels, but
But do you
uh,
think? Sorry, to interrupt.
yeah.
I was thinking about this about one because this is essentially what my I have three channels of social media. One is like a
Mhm.
personal one just for family. One
Yeah.
is for this podcast and my writing, and one is for just my Boston practice because the
Hmm.
Boston and the touching the presence come together, but they're different. And my Boston one is pretty much nothing. But my sense is have something, have a shingle that people can get to. So if they look up Seattle Rolfing,
Hmm.
they come to Brooke, who has one post saying, "Hey, I'm at this location," which isn't a lot, but it is
Yeah.
something. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. And thank you because you're bringing me around to, if for anyone who's keeping track, when I said, let me put a pin on this and return
Mhm.
to it, like there
Yeah.
are ways to grow on social media.
Yes.
There is just that basic, like, I am an actual person with an
Mhm.
actual business hanging out the shingle.
Mhm.
This is my Instagram. I don't post here. There's one post saying I don't really have a social media
I
oriented
have
business,
that.
but you
Yes.
can go here, right, and
Yeah.
find out all the info. I think that that's valuable.
Mhm.
I haven't done it, but I think it's valuable. I might do it. I think that I was talking with a colleague of mine, Jay Grunke, who does the Balanced Runner, So hers is a little different because she's working with runners and she has some online component.
Mm-hmm.
So the difference between I only see people in person and I have a business that could be global.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a business that could be global, it's valuable to be on social media because
Yeah.
you could connect with runners anywhere on planet Earth, right?
Mm-hmm.
But she was talking about growing her Feldenkrais practice in
Mm-hmm.
person again when she had moved. And she was saying the running clubs all use Instagram to communicate.
Mm-hmm.
That there's a running club, and like for me, I swim in the Puget Sound. There's the Alki Beach, um, the notorious Alki swimmers, right? They swim in the Puget Sound on the beach that I live on. If I were focused on helping swimmers, or in her case, she's focused on helping runners, it's not that I have to become Brooke the
Mm-hmm.
swimmer Rolfer,
Mm-hmm.
but I could be there and talk with them and they're posting things that are happening in person in the real world.
Mm-hmm.
So there are places where there are these bridges between the two. If a running club is saying we meet every Wednesday 7 a.m. at this park, then you can physically go there and you can do the
Yeah.
part of,
Yeah.
and then people can look for you on the running club later and see,
Yeah.
oh, she's a Feldenkrais teacher.
Mm-hmm.
So the places where the overlap allows you to connect in the real world can be helpful for our
Yeah.
businesses, for sure.
Yeah. 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 There's so many challenges because I found that some of that stuff I would be in that, but the problem for me is then it's like the forums or even like the comments, and all of a sudden it starts with a good intention, but it
Mhm.
becomes two people, egos, this or that, or misunderstanding what's saying, and
Yeah.
or pushing like,
And how much time do you want to spend
oh my God,
sifting through comments?
yes,
For me, if I'm on the Notorious Alki Swimmers Instagram page, and like I recently saw an argument on our Facebook page for the swimmers
yeah,
where somebody was like, I'm new to cold water swimming. What should I get? And people were like, try this wetsuit company, try this, blah, blah. And somebody else wrote, I've never used a wetsuit. And then someone jumped in, how dare you say that? This person's new, the water's cold. And it's like, yes, it can
yeah,
easily. So you do have to, I honestly just don't.
yes,
That's not where I'm having conversations. But I will use it to connect with people in person. Like, oh, cool. Every Saturday, 9:30 a.m. See
yeah,
you there.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I have slowly. I mean, I'm slowly more and more off of numerous social media as much as I
Mhm.
can. But the irony for me is like one of the most dysregulated forums is the Rolfers forum or the SI forums.
Yeah.
It's just
Which I don't
like,
even know because I don't even go
oh,
there.
just like, I mean,
There's something bad about what these kinds of forums does to our brains and our ability to communicate as human beings. It
um,
never goes great.
yeah, I would agree. Although I would say it's nothing inherently bad about the forums. It seems there's something bad about how we interact
Yeah,
in the
how it affects
forums.
us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's just it's very, I would say it's ironic, but I don't think it is because I actually think part of the issue is there's a sense that in Rolfing, although it's not just Rolfing, it's other groups I'm in, of like, well, you've done a training, you are an enlightened being, go forth and
Sure.
conquer. And it's like, oh, we're generally largely so have so much more work to do.
Yeah.
And many of us don't really do further self work.
Well, one of the things that we haven't mentioned, which is it's so obvious that that's probably why we haven't mentioned it, but like these spaces,
Mhm.
social media platforms, forums, they are by definition disembodied. There are
Yes,
no
yes.
bodies together
Mhm.
in a space, in a
Mhm.
shared actual physical space. You can't
Mhm.
reach out and touch anyone.
Mhm.
And I think when people are disembodied,
Mhm.
they are not their best selves.
No.
If I were when I'm on the beach with all those swimmers, I've seen people disagree about things like how soon you
Mhm.
should get back in the water after your knee surgery, right? Or was there another
Yeah.
recent one? Um, but it's a very different quality of
Well,
communicating.
I'm with you, but a part of me again wants to not push back, but I might argue that they are their best self in that they are that often it's the body that's cueing them and they're reacting to that or performing in some way, but
Mhm.
but I mean best isn't the right word, but that there is this sort of sense about, oh, a lot of my cueing is actually gone. I don't have to perform or be kind because I know when I'm with someone, I see that and then I'm reacting that actually in that social media, I can be an asshole, but not realize I'm being an asshole because I'm actually being like, this is who and how I am. I'm probably speaking
Yeah,
mostly of myself because I look back at how I spoke, how I still speak. But if I look back like 4 years ago, so I was in the Rolf Book Forum a lot during COVID because that was my one of my community. And I
sure.
just the way I spoke, I'm like, my God, what an ass. Like it wasn't
Well,
that.
it's lizard brain communicating because it's disembodied
Yeah,
communicating,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's
yeah,
easier, you're quicker to anger, you're
yeah,
quicker to be annoyed, you're
yeah.
quicker to be a know-it-all, right?
Mhm.
Like that's the thing, that's the problem because we're missing all the other information.
I think I'm still equally a know-it-all either way, but that's just Boston.
Fair enough, fair enough.
No, no, but I think that's spot on. Yeah, I mean, there's another part of me that says let's dive more into embodiment. But I think what you were saying I mean, A, I've got to go have lunch and get ready for a client. But B, what you were saying about, and maybe I actually want to have another conversation about this. But one of the things you stopped the liberated body because it wasn't what your words, but it was getting more too theoretical and whatnot. Well,
Mhm.
the challenge is, I believe it needs to be theoretical, but
Mhm.
not.
Yeah,
I think that without the theory, we can be bypassing and going completely over this and just sort of saying, "Oh, well, this isn't,"
yeah.
And so I think the theory is actually really important. I'm writing a rebuttal to an article in the Rolf Journal that I think is actually very disembodying, and it's a pretty big article all about embodiment, which is all pretty
Mm.
theoretical, but I think it's kind of important because again, without that theory, where are we? But also with too much theory, where are we? And
Yeah,
try,
it's a balance, just like real relationality in the real world, right? Like it's not, there is no magic bullet, there's no one right way, and everything
Mhm.
needs to be in balance.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
yeah,
trained with Judith Blackstone in the realization process, which is a form of embodiment. And I loved her as a
hmm
teacher because when we would all be gathered together in training, we're there to learn. So she's teaching us a lot of theory.
hmm
And as soon as people would be up in their head, like, well, what about that? She would just be like, okay,
hmm
y- yes, she would answer questions, right?
hmm
But come and inhabit your feet.
hmm
Like at the end of the day,
hmm
that's what we're talking about. We're not just doing this so that we can keep perpetuating thinkiness.
hmm
Yeah.
yeah. Before I do close or wrap, are there things that you wanted to express but didn't get to express and still want to, or other things that feel like I still want to share this or say this or anything?
No, I mean, I guess I would just want to emphasize that I am not trying to do what we see so much of, which is, look, I know all those people over there told you the one right way, but they're wrong. I'm right. This is the one right way. Like
Yeah.
everything becomes so binary in these
hmm
models, social media, forums. Yeah. And so I'm not trying to say social media, bad, evil. I actually do think it's bad and evil. But if we're talking about using it to do the important thing of connecting with our clients and paying our bills, these are very important things. Um, it can be a useful tool. And so there's a balance, there's a dance, to use your
hmm
word, of
hmm
figuring out the right way to use the tools that are authentic and that give you what you want, which in the scenario I've been talking about is not becoming an influencer. It's becoming somebody who has a practice that's full enough to pay the bills
hmm
with doing the kind of work I care about doing
Yeah.
and connecting with those people. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if it helps, I don't think, well, I can't speak for others. I haven't heard you saying it that way. I've heard more of an improv of yes
Hmm.
and similar of when I said pushing back, it's of okay, there's this and what else? It's an expanding of sorts.
Yeah.
And, and I, appreciate that. I don't think you're saying social media is bad. Even when you said it was, I don't believe you really mean that. I think you mean it has components that are less than helpful, that are bad and evil, but
Yeah.
there are good parts of it. There are ways to have it use you or use it that are helpful. And the key
Yeah.
is to try to not, again, not to be conspiracy, but not to fall into the machine, not to fall into
Yeah.
the
That's not
cogs.
conspiracy. That's well
I know, but
documented.
but 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 there, it just
It
sounds
is a
like it.
machine that's trying to influence how you behave. But that's the thing is like these could be tools for good. They're
Yes.
currently not designed that way. And so, like, maybe they will evolve in a better way, but currently that's not the design.
Yeah, although again, the shareholders are making a lot of money. That's good. So it's designed for good in that way. But
It is
yes,
designed for the shareholders to make a lot of money. That is
yes,
correct. Yeah.
yeah. So on that note, I think it is hard to hold that way of, I hear you saying this, and I'm not disagreeing, but I'm also bringing this in, and it's a big
Mhm.
part of who I've become and how I try to. Part of why I do want to have conversations like this is to expand the narrative and to see
Yeah, yeah.
what wasn't seen to be there but was there. Which, if you haven't read, it's not my best article, but in the newest Rolf journal, there's an article that I sort of talk about that, where I'm bringing in the Frankfurt School of Philosophy into like
Mm,
invisible things that are actually affecting us, and I want to
yeah.
talk more about it. So,
Oh, cool.
so
I'll
yes,
definitely give it a read. Yeah.
do you have places you want people to find you at?
So my work these days is at Emerald City Rolfing.
Mhm.
That's where you can find me. And everything else is kind of in flux.
Yeah.
I've helped a lot of people through the years with practice building that is still at Simple Prospering right now, but will probably wind up over at Fully Booked, which this is a conversation that we didn't get into at all. My brother is in tech,
Mm-hmm.
and he and I designed a booking and waitlist piece of software for people like us.
Cool.
Yeah, I'll just leave that at the very end.
Yeah, leave that. Then maybe no. Well,
But
I
it's
wanted to have
honestly,
another conversation, so
yeah,
that's fine.
it's in conversation with all the things we don't like about the way the apps get needlessly complicated and blah blah blah. But yeah.
Cool, cool. Well, on that note, with a cliffhanger, we'll sign off. But thank you for you and for your time and for your knowledge and authenticity and honesty.
Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to us at Touching Into Presence. We hope you enjoyed today's conversation. You can find out more about Brooke at fullybookedcalendar.com and emeraldcityrolfing.com. If you enjoyed today's episode, we'd appreciate it if you would leave a positive review of the podcast and subscribe to it through the platform of your choice. When you do this, it really helps other people find us, and we greatly appreciate your support. We look forward to hearing back from you and seeing you on our next conversation at Touching Into Presence.